AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yusuf. And Mr. Toby Tomblin. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. NCAA tournament bracket is set. Could Mansour Delane be a New Orleans Saint? A ton of baseball to talk about. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Well, multiple. I'm so good at this job. I could say two different things at once. What? What happened?
Some pots got switched on the board. I was turning one up that normally doesn't, have your voice on it.
Hey, Paulie. You know what I heard?
Happened.
You know what I heard, Paulie?
What's that? What's that?
Pot.
Of course, that's what you heard.
That's all I heard there.
Stick around for more of that and around the SEC today.
By the way, shout out Hudson Lemoyne from the Louisiana Restaurant Association. Texted me a bit ago. A week from today, OTB is going to be at the LRA golf tournament, and he said, be sure to let Musso know that they'll have the weed water out there.
The weed water? All right, what is the weed water?
That's the THC-infused drink.
Oh, okay.
Weed water.
Gotcha.
They wanted you to know that specifically.
I appreciate that. It's very nice of that. That's a hospitality right there, man. That's what we call that.
The LRA. That's what they're here for.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk baseball. All right. Two things can be true at the same time. Number one, you were a pitch away on Friday from winning this series. Gavin Guidry was awesome in the eighth. My goodness, the strikeout in the ninth with the runner on third was vintage Gavin Guidry, and then he gives up a bomb that probably still hasn't landed. Or, would still not have landed but for the net beyond the outfield wall because Vanderbilt plays in a bitty ballpark. But again, you were a strike away, a pitch away from winning the series. That is true. That's a fact. Also true is you have some real concerns after one weekend of SEC play. The biggest disappointment has to be the starting pitching. Going into this weekend, remember the last 2 weeks we talk about how the offense had gone cold, starting with that Monday against Northeastern a couple of weeks ago. But the advantage LSU seemingly had was Evans, Moore, Schmidt. That did not manifest this weekend. My goodness. None of your three starters recorded an out in the fifth inning. Those three combined to give up 14 runs, and they gave you only 11 innings pitched. Casey Evans walked 5 in 3 innings on Friday. Atrocious. By the way, your entire staff walked 25 over 3 games. Atrocious. You can't beat bad teams doing that, let alone good teams. I thought Schmidt showed some good signs. A 7-pitch first inning. Came back to strike out the side in the third in the heart of the order, even though his pitch count got up. When his pitch count got up, he needed a quick fourth. He got it, and then things kind of went haywire on him. Wind-aided home run to lead off the fifth, and then a walk on 4 pitches, and his day was done. The bottom line is your starting pitchers have to be better, or you are going nowhere. We can talk about anything you want about transfers and power, hitting for average, what bullpen. It don't. If your starting pitchers aren't better than they were this weekend, you're going nowhere, period. The defense. You are fielding right now 964. We talk about this often, but like the baseline for Major League Baseball is 980. Like if you don't feel 980, like you can't play in the bigs. So that's kind of that line you look for, is to field above 980. Last year, the national championship team fielded 981, just for context. 2 years ago, they were at 977. The 23 team was at 975. Right now, you're at 964. On Sunday alone, Aaron Beatty made an error. York made an error. Ruckert made an error when he was put in as a defensive replacement, and it was critical because he booted a tailor-made ground ball double play, and the next batter slugged a 3-run homer. Instead of being out of the inning, now you got a ball game. I'm not trying to crush a young guy getting his opportunity, but you're in there as a defensive replacement. You have to turn a tailor-made ground ball double play. Pearson made an error. Now, they were in the shift, and he was playing behind second base in the shift, which is stupid, but whatever. And he spiked the ball into the dirt. You got to be better defensively. No other way to say it. If your pitching struggles and your offense goes cold, your defense has to be fantastic behind your struggling pitching, and they were not this weekend. The offense scored 31 runs in 3 games. And most every Monday when we sit here, if LSU's offense scored 31 runs in 3 games, I'm going to be really happy, especially considering the last 2 weeks how cold they'd been. But on Sunday, LSU scored a run in the first without putting a ball in play. That was charity. On Friday, the 8th inning was manna from heaven. 3 walks, 2 hit by pitch, 2 pass balls, 2 wild pitches. Like, you saw why Vanderbilt came into this weekend 11-7. They're not very good. So I'm glad that LSU had the run production they did. Jake Brown produced 6 RBI on Sunday alone. He is carrying a heavy load offensively, and others have got to pick up the slack. I did love seeing Chris Stanfield there. It's clear he's not 100% himself, but even still not 100%, Chris Stanfield was 4 of 10. That means he hit 400 this weekend. He was 4 of 10. He walked 3 times. He did strike out 4 times. That's going to happen, especially when you're trying to hit with one hand, which he's doing right now. But to hit 400 when you're hitting with one hand is kind of amazing. We've talked about Milam a good bit. A lot of people have sat there and wondered what's wrong with Milam. The refrain I've had over and over again was going into this weekend, Stephen Milam had struck out 3 times all year. He's put the ball in play. Keep putting the ball in play, good things will happen. Well, this weekend, Stephen Milam hit 357. Now, he did strike out 5 times on the weekend. It's going to happen, especially, look, Nato on Saturday was awesome. Like, I can look at times and say, tip your cap to the other guy. And on Saturday, their guy was awesome. And Sieber, the reliever on Sunday, who recorded 13 straight outs, was really good. Sometimes you're going to run into that. So on the front end and the back end, you got to do damage. And thankfully, LSU did on Sunday. They were not able to get through against Nato really on Saturday. But Milam, I thought, was really good offensively. He scored 7 runs. He walked, was hit by a pitch, and again hit 357. So Milam starting to become more productive there at the top would certainly be a great benefit to this offense. Listen, I know there's always the question that people ask, you lose a series, is it time to panic? No, there's 27 more of these things, man. Like, I don't know what lesson you need to learn. 2 years ago, they were 3-12 at the halfway point of conference play. They went 10-5 in the second half and were a blown save by their best pitcher away from winning the Chapel Hill Regional and hosting a Super at the Box. It's a marathon. It's an evolution. You can't treat a weekend in the SEC like a football game. You're going to win some. You're going to lose some. It's how it is. You got to keep evolving and growing and developing and get opportunities when they're there. You got one on Sunday, which you had to get. So, great. Now you look at the next 2 weekends, they're massive. The next 2 weekends are massive because they're at home. You're facing Oklahoma and Kentucky, both which won series this weekend, but you get them at the box. And you got to win these weekends because you look at opportunities on the schedule, and these next 2 weekends present an opportunity because after that is the toughest stretch of your entire schedule. You're at Tennessee, at Ole Miss, home against A&M, at Mississippi State. That 12-game stretch largely is going to define your season. You've got to make sure you go into that stretch with your head above water. You've got to be above 500 going into that stretch because it's unlikely you're going to – I would love to see LSU go 6-6 in that stretch. I'd love to see them do way better than that. But if they go 6-6 in that stretch, outstanding, especially if you're above 500 going into it. It sets you up for what you need to do in the final few weekends to put yourself in position to be a regional host, potentially a national seed. But huge opportunity the next 2 weekends, and it starts with Oklahoma coming to the box this weekend. The bottom line is LSU just got to be much, much better than they were this weekend. So Tigers lose 2 out of 3 against Vanderbilt. We'll talk much more about the weekend. What might be on the horizon for Jay Johnson's squad, potential changes they could make. David DeLucci's here in hour number 3. And we'll talk a bit more about that about an hour from right now. Okay, it's After Further Review. Show Up in Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. Out at the Wear Under the Green Parade on Saturday, man, we had an awesome time at the Parish Construction Roofing Float. Had an ice chest full of delicious ice-cold Bud Light. Had plenty of them in the Green Parish koozies. They had the Green Shamrock Bud Light bottles as well. Or, if you're trying to support the Tigers, make sure that you go by your favorite retailer and grab plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light in the officially licensed LSU bottles and cans. They got the 12-ounce cans, the 16-ounce bottles, the national championship logo honoring the 2025 baseball national champs. You can get it anywhere, all over town at great retailers. Just make sure you drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of the LSU Tigers. Okay, y'all, March Madness is upon us. The bracket is set. Mike LaTulip from the field of 68 going to jump aboard next, give us some observations. We'll go around the SEC bottom of this hour. David DeLucci in hour 3. We got a ton to do on this busy, jam-packed Monday, and glad you're here. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by the Watermark and the Renaissance. Watermark downtown, Renaissance Southtown. Watermark right there on Bluebonnet near I-10. Excuse me, that's the Renaissance, Bluebonnet and I-10. My apologies. Beautiful, sprawling hotel. Their grand ballroom can host up to 500 people. So no matter what size event you're hosting, remember Renaissance Baton Rouge right there on Bluebonnet. And also remember Tallulah. I like how they describe Tallulah. It's a casual, upscale dining experience. Tallulah isn't this isn't like a hotel restaurant. It's not just the place where they have food in the hotel in case if you don't have any other options. This is a destination place that you should find time to go to. Maybe it's that sort of casual business lunch, or maybe you have that date night. Great opportunity to get by Tallulah inside Renaissance Baton Rouge, or a place to have a cocktail after work, their indoor-outdoor flow. Remember, there's always a great reason to get by the Renaissance, and Tallulah is one of those. It's Tallulah inside of Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After Further Review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
Kansas, obviously, with the guy, Darren Peterson, has been the story of the year, how they've kind of limped out of the Big 12 tournament. St. John's, that team has physical, in-your-face. Rick Pitino having GOAT-like status as a coach right now. That's a really fascinating matchup. I still think, how does Duke handle with having Patrick Gangba? Does he come back? How is he when he comes back? How does that relieve Cameron Boozer? And then Caden Boozer as well at the point guard spot. But I would see Duke getting to the Sweet 16 pretty easily.
That was Jason Williams, Jay Will, on the Bracketology Show on ESPN. Mike LaTulip, the field of 68, good enough to join us now that the field is set. Mike, thanks for the time, man. How are you?
I'm great. It's the best time of year. I'm doing amazing.
I believe so. So I guess we'll sleep in April, or maybe the middle of April is when we'll sleep. Not right now. Not at the beginning of April, because that's when the national championship will be. All right, Mike, if I asked you, field is set, be it a team, a draw, a bracket, a region, something single biggest takeaway, what is it?
Well, I think the committee is getting a ton of kudos, it feels like, the last 24 hours or so. And I think this is about as easy and straightforward as the field has ever been in terms of the cut line and the bubble. So I won't give them too much credit, but I do think that they got it right, which is great. Now, some of the seeding I thought was interesting. Utah State being one of them that was more on that 7-8 line that ended up at 9, but I think your eyes definitely go to the East region first. And I think when the bracket initially came out, and maybe it's because it's the first region they go through, you see Dan Hurley, you see Mick Cronin and Tom Izzo and Pat Kelsey and Bill Self and Rick Pitino and, obviously and John Shire and Duke. And there's a lot of logos in there, but the more that time has gone on the last 24 hours, the more I actually really like that region for Duke. So I think the committee got it right, and I definitely like the path for the Duke Blue Devils.
Why do you like Duke in the East?
I just think I have questions about St. John's. I have questions about Kansas. I do think TCU could. I have TCU winning that game against Ohio State. I do think TCU or Ohio State could give Duke a little bit of trouble, but I just think there's too much question marks elsewhere. UConn has been sputtering a little bit here down the stretch. Michigan State's been outside the top 50 defensively since the beginning of February, which is just not what we've come to love about that Spartan program. And Louisville, what's the story with Michael Brown? Is he playing? Is he not playing? There's just a lot that's up in the air there in the East region.
Mike, we're obviously here in Louisiana, tons of interest in the SEC. Anything from any of the SEC teams' draws that jump off the page at you?
I think certainly Florida. Florida has a really solid draw. I think the South region, if I were to stack rank them, it would probably go East, then Midwest, then West, then South. So they have a pretty solid draw, I'd say. The other ones, you got to look at Alabama. The news that came down today with Aiden Holloway and what that looks like when you have a potential second-round date with either Akron or Texas Tech, and how does that limit Alabama's chances of making it to a Sweet 16 and beyond? And then I think Arkansas. The draw for Arkansas I thought was kind of rough, to be honest. It's a Wisconsin team that I think has one of the hottest backcourts in the country that you're going to have to face off with in that second round. And for Arkansas, their defense has just been leaky at times this year. So those are certainly the ones that I think stand out to me. Tennessee is set up nicely to win that first game, but Virginia is I think, flying into this tournament underrated. So Kentucky, that's a trendy upset pick with Santa Clara. So I don't know. It could be rough for the SEC.
Go back to Bama for a second, if you would, Mike. With that news today, how big of an impact do you think that has? We'll obviously have to see what's going to happen, availability and all, but how big of an impact do you think that has on Bama, Nate Oates' squad?
Well, it's a big impact. If he can't play, you look at LeBaron Philon and all the not only the scoring that he does, but the distributing he does. I think people look at this team as just a team that just launches from deep, but the reason they do it is because they're able to create the advantages first, to draw two to the ball, and then get those inside out looks. They're more of a paint touch team than they are a 3-point shooting team. The 3-point shooting is the byproduct of the paint touches they get off the dribble. And Aiden Holloway, I think he's grown so much these last few years as a distributor, as a guy that outside of Philon gives him another entry point into the paint to kind of spray out for those catch and shoot looks. So that's going to put a lot more on LeBaron Philon if he can't go. And I think it does cap, I think, the ceiling of this Alabama team.
Mike LaTulip's with us, Field of 68. Get him on Twitter at LaTulip_Mike, LATULIP_Mike, if you want to give him a follow. Let me ask you about another SEC team, but Mike, it's less about the SEC team and more about the ACC team, because people here are really interested in what's going on with Will Wade and NC State. It's a first four matchup out in the West with NC State and Texas. A lot of people here would like to see Will Wade end up back in Baton Rouge, and I don't know that I completely rule it out, but not while he's still coaching. So what do you think about that first four matchup with the Wolfpack and the Longhorns?
It's two teams that have very similar profiles. They've just two teams that have really struggled on the defensive end this year. And I have Texas winning this game, and I do think whether Texas or NC State wins this game, I think they win the next game too. This has been going on now this is the 15th year we've had a play-in game. And, the 14 years that we've had it previous, 12 of the 14 years, a team that's won the play-in game has won another game. And so I think it would come out of that matchup right there. I got Texas in this one. I just think whether it's Vokatitis, who handles him in the post, the Texas team's really good at playing in isolation, and this NC State defense is going to have to hold up. So I got Texas in that matchup, but it's kind of funny seeing those two teams get paired, because my goodness, if they had a similar season.
Yeah, the winner will get BYU in that second round game, whoever does advance. Real quick, Mike, do you have a thought? This is not tournament specific, but I brought up Will Wade, and there's a lot of people here super interested about possibly that reunion. Do you have a thought on that? Will Wade potentially coming back to Baton Rouge?
I will say that that's not the first time I've heard it. I'll tell you that much. And so, I think with the way it ended the last time around, we're in a totally different world now. And this is a world where some of the things that I think he was, being accused of, I guess, are legal now. And so I think I do still think, despite NC State being a bubble team that gets in, I do think Will Wade's a force multiplier as a coach. And given the right situation, I think he can take a program and make them a perennial winner. I think he can do that. So it'll be interesting to follow and see what plays out there.
Yeah. Mike LaTulip, got a couple more for you. This is sort of a common one. People always ask, like, is there a sleeper, maybe a team that you like their draw, a little off the radar right now, might make a run?
Well, it's funny because I played there, and I promise this is not a homer pick.
Let's
but
go.
I really like the draw for Illinois.
Okay.
I do. I think Penn being a team that, they're third in the Ivy League, they're missing their top scorer, right, or one of their top scorers right now, and Ethan Roberts. North Carolina's down Caleb Wilson. VCU, if they didn't beat Dayton, they weren't going to be in the field. So I think it's set up nicely for them to get to the second weekend. I know in that second weekend, if they do get there, they would likely play Houston, but Houston also has, whether it's St. Mary's or Texas A&M, those are two really odd styles that could make for a pull you into the mud type of game. And so there's no guarantee Houston makes it to Houston. But if they do, I do like Illinois' ability with Houston to put two on the ball. They leave themselves a little bit vulnerable in the defensive glass. Illinois is a great offensive rebounding team, and they have a guy in Keaton Wagler that can make shots off the dribble, which is key in beating Houston. And then Florida, if they do meet in the Elite Eight, these two teams met in October in a secret scrimmage, so it's not going to be some sort of spookiness from Illinois playing against a one seed. They have a little bit of familiarity there. So I tried to almost refrain from saying it because I played there, but I do really like the draw there for Illinois.
I thought you were going Wright State over Virginia. That's what I thought you were going to give me. Man, I thought you were going to give me Wright State with the big 14 over the 3. Not quite as bold picking the 3 over the 14, Mike.
Right. I think if we were going to go, let's go upset here, because there is something that I think is key to look at when you look at the bracket. Because I've seen a lot of talk about Akron over Texas Tech. I've seen some McNeese over Vanderbilt talk. I've seen some High Point over Wisconsin talk. And to me, when you look at the signals of, hey, what makes an upset, especially over the last few years, when you look at Yale over Auburn a few years back, when you look at Oakland over Kentucky, when you look at Drake over Missouri last year, it's these clashes in pace. This is a high octane, high possession team versus a mid-major team that really plays a low possession game. And my attention turns to St. John's Northern Iowa, because when I look at Northern Iowa, they're 353rd nationally in pace. They got a guy that can go in Trey Campbell. And I know St. John's is riding high right now, just won the Big East. I just feel like that's a potential upset that no one is looking at right now, that because it'll be a low possession game, I think it could be a little bit closer. Now, how Northern Iowa handles that St. John's front court remains to be seen. Northern Iowa was great on the defensive glass. They haven't gone up against Zuby Ejiofor. So that's just one I'm monitoring. I'm putting a pin in that one.
At LaTulip _Mike. I'll give him a follow. Noted Wright State. What's the mascot? I forgot Wright State's mascot.
Raiders.
Noted. We can go Illini, but let's go Wright State. I'm pulling for the 14 over the 3 here. You can keep your Illini as well. I get you got dual allegiances. And Mike, it's a pleasure, man. Thanks for a couple of minutes. Enjoy the basketball.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. The Field of 68. Check it out. And he's on Twitter at LaTulip _Mike. LATULIP _Mike. Yeah, maybe we'll let Mike back at another time. It's interesting because he played in an era, if you remember Mike's career, he played at Illinois for 3 seasons, had to sit out because this was pre-transfer portal. So sat out a year due to transfer rules and then played his final season at Wright State. Just with that perspective, having transferred and played at both a power program and a mid-major, maybe some good perspective on this era, but we'll have to do that another day. Maybe we'll circle back with Mike as the tournament rolls along. All right, it's After Further Review, brought to you by Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Rouse's. Hey, crawfish every single day. And remember, at Rouse's, they got their in-house boiling rooms. So when you get by Rouse's, every single day, those crawfish are boiled in-house. Shout out to my guy Cliff at the Rouse's in Central. He's in their boiling room every day. He was showing me pictures. He was hanging out with him on Friday. I'm telling you, they're awesome, beautiful size right now. You're right in the sweet spot of crawfish season. Great time to get by Rouse's. Bag tagged, ready to go. Grab and go at their hot and boiled kiosk. You want live or boiled crawfish? Rouse's got you covered. Rouse's.com, Rouse's.com. Rouse's, this feels like home. All right, y'all, it's AFR, and glad you're bored with us. Monday show is brought to you by Relief Windows. We'll go around the SEC here in just a smidge. Do want to talk a little bit about what was just an awesome day in town. The Wearing of the Green Parade this past Saturday over at Parrish. We had a float for the first time, and just an awesome day. Lane Kiffin was at the front of the parade, and it's kind of the angle I want to go there with Kiffin. It's just his embracing all things here over the last 3 months has been pretty revealing. So I want to talk about that. We'll do that in about 15 minutes. All right, let me knock out a break, come back, go around the SEC, and Greg Sankey weighing in on the whole tampering investigations with the NCAA and all that stuff. We'll let you hear what he said next, AFR.
After Further Review.
Thinking about selling your home? I'm about to give you Darren James's phone number, so you might want to write it down, get out your phone, punch it in. Maybe I could tell SIRI to call Darren, although a lot of you don't like when I do that. But nonetheless, the bottom line is, working with Darren, remember, obligates you to nothing. If at any point you're not thrilled with the level of service, he'll let you out any contract free and clear, no questions asked. But in all the years Darren's been a realtor, the decades that Darren has been serving this community, not once has that ever happened. No one's ever taken him up on that, because Darren's level of work, his commitment to you to get your home sold is unmatched. And you'll get it. Like, have a conversation with Darren and you'll understand. You go, oh, God, that's what Scone was talking about. It's just the processes that he has in place, using different types of technology, be it like 3D home tours and all different, if you're first to market with stuff like that. There's a reason why Darren is on the Wall Street Journal's list, the top 1% of realtors in America. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After Further Review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
We'll go around the SEC in just a quick second. Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti over the last year have butted heads publicly on the future of the college football playoff format. Greg Sankey wants to go to 16 teams. Tony Petitti in the Big Ten want to go to 24. There's been the argument over how many AQs, or is it all at large? And ultimately, they reached a stalemate, as we know, and they decided not. They couldn't reach an agreement, so they didn't change the format. We'll stay at 12 for another year. We found some common ground, though. Remember, about a week ago, the Big Ten publicly put out a call for the NCAA to stop its tampering investigations, saying that you can't use pre-NIL, rev share, transfer portal tampering rules and apply it to now. The whole world's changed, and there's actually a lot of validity to that. Well, despite the Big Ten putting out that memo, that public call, the NCAA was like, nah, we're just going to keep going. Well, Greg Sankey has actually joined the Big Ten now in that call. He has called that language covering tampering rules, quote, archaic. He was speaking over the weekend at the men's basketball tournament in Nashville and said, quote, this is Sankey saying, quote, we need clarity. Secondly, we need understanding on the part of policymakers of what's actually happening. How's the game being played? That doesn't mean the NCAA should just stop, but the notion that a memo would be sent and that changes things when the NCAA is perceived as sitting on the sidelines, that's not a workable solution. So I think whenever, and remember, the NCAA sent out after Dabo exposed Ole Miss for tampering with Luke Farrelly, the linebacker. And if you don't, just the very quick catch up of that story, Farrelly was at Cal. He transfers to Clemson. Signs transfer portal paperwork, all that sort of stuff. He's at Clemson. Then he very abruptly transfers to Ole Miss. Clemson and Dabo have a press conference where Dabo has the receipts. He's reading text messages, outing Austin Thomas and Pete Golding. And after that, the NCAA sends out a memo saying they're going to pursue significant penalties for tampering violations. Well, the Big Ten and now the SEC both said, hold on. Now, for Sankey, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because one of his schools is very much in the crosshairs, Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss is the one that did the tampering that led to this whole thing. So if the NCAA is pursuing tampering violations, they're going to start with Ole Miss. Dabo went and aired the dirty laundry. So I get Sankey saying, he's trying to protect one of the schools in his league, which any commissioner would and should do. You would want your commissioner going to bat for if that was LSU, you would want Sankey standing in front of that oncoming train. So I get what Sankey's doing, but it's not just about protecting Ole Miss. I mean, the Big Ten didn't have a public dog in the fight here, and they were the ones that started this conversation because it's true. Like, you've got to put some framework around this whole thing. So as much as we may all laugh and like to watch Ole Miss get hammered, what's the old saying? Like, but by the grace of God, there go I. So as to say, if the NCAA decided they wanted to turn their attention to Lane Kiffin and LSU or what, like, they'd find something. It's the same conversation about Will Wade. When Will Wade was here, everybody was cheating. That FBI investigation involved major programs. Sean Miller at Arizona, Bill Self at Kansas. I mean, there were major programs involved. Auburn. But Will Wade was the one on the federal wiretap. And he got popped. But it could have been any of those. So I guess my point is to say, I get it. It's fun to point and laugh at Ole Miss and want them to get just banhammered. But what if the NCAA does that and starts looking at LSU? You going to sleep good at night? Just saying. Like, it's better for everybody if there is definition and clarity around this before the NCAA just goes and starts turning over every stone they can find. We'll continue to follow it, see how it goes. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Springtime, a lot of people on or around spring break. If you're hitting the beach or wherever you may be going for spring break, make sure before you go or when you get back, bring the thing to Shaw Bills. They'll change your oil. They'll rotate your tires. They'll change your wiper blades. You can do anything you need. Brake, squeak in, check engine light on. Shaw Bills can do all of it. And, of course, they'll sell you the best tires on the road at the cheapest price possible. And when I say this, hopefully it makes sense. Tires are a commodity. You want to go buy a Michelin, Bridgestone, Firestone, BF, Goodrich, Toyo, you could buy that same exact tire at lots of different places. So what Shaw Bills does is they're going to sell you the best tires at the cheapest price. They guarantee it, by the way. It's part of the Charlie's dozen, their price match guarantee. But they're going to treat you so good, you're going to go, you know what? Whenever I need anything with my vehicle, I'm going back to Shaw Bills. And that's a model they've made work for nearly 60 years now, since 1968. Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service. ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Shaw Bills, we keep you rolling. Okay, do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Talked about it a bit ago when Mike LaTulip was here from the field of 68, but Alabama star Aiden Holloway has been arrested felony drug charges just 4 days before the start of the NCAA tournament. Had a pound of marijuana in his vehicle, paraphernalia, and cash. Charged with first-degree possession of marijuana, failure to affix a tax stamp. That's seriously part of the charge. Failure to affix a tax stamp. Good gracious. Anyway, could carry up to 10 years in jail as part of the maximum extent of the law. No word yet on if he'll be available for the Crimson Tide because, priorities.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Ole Miss is targeting Kansas State co-defensive coordinator Marcus Woodson for a role on their staff. Matt Zenitz, the first to report it. Woodson played at Ole Miss from 99 to 02. hired as K-State's co-defensive coordinator in the offseason after spending 3 seasons at Arkansas, but Pete Golding's trying to get him back there at Oxford.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Tennessee's added transfer tight end Drake Martinez before the Vols hit the field for spring practice. He was in attendance for the first spring practice today on March 16th, but it's got to go through the NCAA mandated acclimatization period. Excuse me, I'll get it. Before he's able to join them on the field. He's the 21st transfer for Tennessee, 6'3", 240, was a 3-star back in 2021. The Vols will be his 6th college football team.
Texas A&M!
Aggies have hired Devin Price to their coaching staff. He's the son of, well, you might remember the late Aggies assistant coach, Terry Price. So pretty cool story, actually, in that respect. He finished his career at Florida Atlantic, then Ole Miss, now joins Mike Elko's staff there in College Station. He thanked Texas A&M offensive coordinator Holman Wiggins in a statement, indicating that he'll have a role in the offensive staff there in College Station.
The Texas Longhorns.
This is a 2-sport story, but Texas's Jonah Williams will undergo baseball season-ending shoulder surgery. He injured it while diving for a fly ball. This will end his baseball season. He's a sophomore in baseball and football, played 8 games for Jim Schlossnagel's club this year. Last played on March the 6th against USC Upstate. You might remember this is a big-time safety and baseball prospect that LSU was in on till the very end. He was hitting .304 and 23 at-bats, but his baseball season is over and hopes it'll be ready for the start of fall camp. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC. Monday shows are brought to you by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Oh, yeah, they do shutters, too. It's Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank, vinyl siding, shutters, and roller shades. You can learn more at Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. Remember, you can always email us, tweet us, or text the show, 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways to get involved in the show if you so choose. There is a mock draft out that has Mansour Delane to the Saints at 8. So I want to talk about that after the top of the hour. So about 16 minutes from right now. So you have to come back. In 16 minutes, we're going to talk about that because I want to make sure I give myself enough time and space to really explore that. Quick break, though. When we come back, I want to I just thought of something this weekend with Lane Kiffin being involved in the Wearing the Green Parade, and then Boosie called him on stage at the concert after the Wearing the Green Parade and all that stuff, and it got my wheels spinning a little bit about Kiffin and the whole all of the different sort of confluence of circumstances and energies around that whole situation. So we'll dive into that as we continue. And glad you're hanging out here at AFR.
After further review.
You buy everything online. My wife's proof of that. I'm going to go home tonight. I'm going to pull up in the driveway. I'm going to look at the front door. There will be like 6 Amazon packages. She buys everything online. It's great. It's convenient. What about your pool? Now, Amazon can't deliver your pool to your front door, but Duplessis Builders, you can go to their website, buy your pool online, and they'll come install it. They'll dig, do the whole thing. It really is such a cool feature that Derek and the team spent a lot of time building out. It's such a great function. So when you go to the website, it's duplessisbuilders.net, duplessisbuilders.net. You go to the homepage, and there's the Pick Your Pool tab. Yep. What you'll see is 11 different pool designs. Pick whatever shape you want, whatever design style you like. Just pick whichever one you like. And then you can go through, it'll prompt you so you can pick out all of your finishes, and then you can pay for it right there. Buy everything else online. Why not your pool? duplessisbuilders.net.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And oh, we do shutters too.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1. Had a great day Saturday. Annually, and I know there's a lot of people that listen or watch outside of Baton Rouge. We're doing the show from downtown Baton Rouge at our Government Street studios in the Raising Cane studios. But there's a lot of people. I know we got affiliates, obviously, in Lafayette and Lake Charles and Alexandria, and people listen online all over the state, the region, the country, the world. There's LSU fans everywhere, Saints fans everywhere. But annually, the Wearing of the Green Parade, many consider among, if not the best day in Baton Rouge, especially when the weather's great. And Saturday it was sunny with a high of 77. It was just gorgeous. It was just a picture-perfect day. And it's just such an amazing day in Baton Rouge. So many people come to flood the streets, and it's just celebration and revelry and family friendly. And you can go find some adult beverages and a little bit of trouble if you want to make some bad decisions. But the bottom line is it's an awesome day. At Parrish, we had a float in the parade for the first time, and it was an awesome day. It was a beautiful day, and we had 40 or so people on our float, and just a great time. I got a post up at the Parrish social medias if you want to check it out. Parrish Construction Roofing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all over the place. So it was a beautiful day and a great way to celebrate Baton Rouge on this day. And I know we had a great time. So big hat tip and shout out to Pat Shingleton, who of course started the Wear the Green Parade 41 years ago, and just continues to grow and expand. Just an amazing day for Baton Rouge. And at Parrish, I know we were thrilled to be a small part of it this year for the first time. And we'll continue to ride as long as they let us, because it's just such an amazing day, and we had an awesome time. So thanks to everybody who shouted us out and who wanted hats and beads and all that good stuff. So we had an awesome time, and hopefully you did as well over at the Wearing of the Green Parade. Now, Lane Kiffin also was at the Wearing of the Green Parade, as he was on the incidentally the Raisin Canes float there at the front of the parade. I think maybe right behind the Grand Marshal was Jim Cantori this year. But I was thinking about it because Kiffin, and this isn't a new thought, right? Lane has really endeared himself to Louisiana, and not only just to Baton Rouge, but the state, the fan base, all of it. And it's something we often say, which is, if you wrap your arms around Louisiana and our culture, we're going to give you the biggest bear hug ever back, and we'll love you in spite of whatever flaws or faults you may have. We've talked about it with guys like Breeze and Burrow, and name it, right? If you, we know culturally we are different, we are idiosyncratic, we spell things funny, we eat funny things, we maybe sometimes our priorities are out of line. We maybe care about football a little too much, but hey, if you don't love football as much as we do, then whatever. So Kiffin was there at the parade. After the parade, there was the party. It used to be called Earlapalooza. I think it was the St. Patty's Extravaganza now. Well, Boosie performed, and he brought Kiffin up on stage with him to an adoring crowd. And you just think about, while Lane personally is a very private person, right? Which sounds odd because on social media he is so public and forward facing. It's so interesting to me because it's not his personality to be very public, although he is that on social media. But what he has done since he's been here was Grand Marshal of Endymion. Now he's the Wearing of the Green Parade. He's been at women's basketball games and gymnastics meets and baseball games, and you've seen him at restaurants around town and sharing those photos on social media and coffee shops and working out and all those sorts of things. And while he may not be doing press conferences and the big media tour, he is very public and very visible around town. And I do think that is one stark contrast to his life in Oxford. I do not mean this to be a knock on Oxford. Please do not misunderstand me. I think Oxford is a beautiful town. Say what you want about Ole Miss, don't care. But Oxford is a place of about 20,000 people. It is a beautiful, charming southern town, safe, great place to raise a family, raise kids. All those things are wonderful. But if you want a social life as an adult, it's hard to find that in Oxford. Again, that's not a knock. It's just preference. And so I think for Lane, at this stage in his life, Baton Rouge offers him the opportunity to do all these things, which maybe he didn't have those opportunities in Oxford, which is why maybe we're starting to see Lane publicly more visible, which wasn't the case the last 6 years while he was at Ole Miss, maybe just because he didn't have the opportunity. Also,